program, Open Conversation. Open Conversation is a 2 hour heated and calorific political program that digs deeper into the daily happenings of our country. And I am here today, privileged to open the conversation with Titi Gibro. But let me cross over to Titi. Titi, good evening.
What did you say? What?
Calorific.
Calorific. What is that? What kind of word is that?
Come
What does
on.
that word mean?
It talk about intensity. It talk about something heated. So we're
Oh,
having a heated conversation here. Conversation of intense.
oh my God.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna learn a lot.
You will
Yeah.
certainly learn a lot.
When I used to cover the legislature, I used to learn a lot from Dr. Bob Chambers. Now I'm gonna be learning from you here. But anyways, good to be here this evening on Open Conversation.
Exactly.
Today's July 11th.
Today is July 10, 11.
11, yeah.
11. Okay, today is
Today.
July 11. And on Open Conversation, we have a segmented flow of opening our conversation. So, firstly, we go into
What's trending?
what's trending today. And let me start up with you, Titi. What's trending on your template?
Well, I think a lot is trending today. We know that in Liberia today, the Liberian Senate
Okay.
has asked the Minister of Public Works and deputies to appear on Thursday with their lawyers to show cause, you know, why they shouldn't be held in contempt, for allegedly lying under oath. And before we go into other trending issues, we have with us this evening in studio our legislative reporter, and specifically the one who covers the Senate is Samson David. And we'd like to talk to him a little bit, just for 2 minutes, concerning what happened in session today.
Exactly. So, Samson, welcome to Open Conversation.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you so much.
Check his microphone, please.
Samson,
Samson?
welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on the
So-
show. And I'm grateful to be here and elated to be
Okay,
here.
you're good, Samson. You're good, good. So,
What happened on Capitol Hill today? We saw the senators, in this. There was a drama on the Senate's floor when the Minister of Public Works and her deputies. Yeah, just tell us exactly what happened. They said they lied under oath. What kind of lie did they tell?
Thank you so much. I would like to also agree with you in terms of our interesting development today at the level of the Senate. As you rightly said, to just give you a basic of what actually happened last Thursday, the Liberian Senate invited the Liberia Revenue Authority, Ministry of Public Works, the National Road Fund, and that of the PPCC to provide updates in terms of our roads that are being done across the country, especially the southeastern road, in terms of according to them, according to the research, there are several contractor firms or construction firms across the country that are carrying on the construction or rehabilitation of roads in the southeast. And according to them, those roads are being done, they're not being completed. But again, the government, fund have been, those contractor firms are receiving money from
Okay.
the government, and they are not completing or they are not carrying on the construction of the road. So that prompted the plenary of the Senate to have invited the relevant authorities, ministry, and agencies of government
Okay,
to
with
provide
oversight
updates on
from-
that.
Okay.
So today they appear, the witnesses, the Public Works Minister Ruth Coker Collins was given the floor to carry out a presentation because she has the oversight responsibility in terms of who she provides a contract to.
Yeah.
So on the basis of that, before then, what we gather is that before her appearance, there was this consultation with the senators to understand to give insight as to what actually ongoing in terms of roads that are being done or roads that are not actually being rehabilitated in the southeast. She began her presentation with the southeastern road from Buchanan to the RTR road, which of course, according to her, a contractor friend identified as Western Construction was actually hired to carry on the project. According to her, mobilization was done in terms of the first phase of the road from Buchanan to Atia, The total cost of that road is 1.8 million United States dollars. According to her, they didn't do well, so the project was terminated. The total of 643,000 United States dollars was given to that construction thing. Another question that was asked about senators was, what is the punishment? What did you do when the contract was terminated on the basis of these people were not performing?
Yeah.
So the minister, they actually did not give,
Any
any substantive punishment in terms of a penalty. So after almost like a 45 minutes or 30-minute discussion, they came up with the answer that indeed what they decided to do is that Western Construction Company would not be able to receive a project worth more than 1 million because they were not able to carry on the first project.
Are they still going to be allowed to get contract? From
They
the
will be
government?
allowed. They will be allowed to receive contract from Ministry of Public Works on a basis of the amount, but they will not receive contract that worth more than 500,000.
Even though they received money and
Yeah, they didn't do the work.
But what is the lie that they're told for which
Yes,
the
from
lawmakers-
Atia to Greenville, and from Greenville to Grand Crew, this is where they have the issue. The Proton and other senators who are from the southeast, especially Grand Crew rather, and that of Pasano, they said the road is not pliable. The condition of the road is not conducive. It's in a deplorable condition. The people of the counties are actually complaining because nothing has been done on the road. So this is embarrassing them because their people are calling on it. They are the direct representative of the people. So the minister in their presentation, they said the road from Greenville to that of Vatican in Grand Creek County, that road, what has been done is about 60%. So the senator said they
don't believe.
Yeah, no, according to them, there's no work being done on the road. In fact, according to them, the road is black. So why would you tell us? Because we live there, we moved there, we hear from our people. Why would you tell us?
So that was a lie.
That was a lie.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's the lie for which they are being held. They almost sent the assistant minister to jail. She made that comment.
Yeah,
right?
she made a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, so other senators were saying, look, you cannot send the assistant minister alone to jail because you also have the minister here. She also provided information that is not actually
But she
in
didn't
line.
tell a lie though. So she didn't tell a lie. And again, they didn't hold her for.
She is the head of the ministry. She is the head of the ministry, and she was speaking based on her instruction to speak.
Of course, she was speaking based on her instructions, but she didn't tell the lie. The lie was told allegedly, according to them, by the assistant minister.
The assistant minister,
so
yeah.
they wanted her to go to jail, but it ended up as how did it end up?
Well, under the law, Article 44 gives the legislature the power in terms of a reasonable sanction, which of course they can determine in terms of to be fined or to be jailed, to be sent to common jail, as they call it, to be sent to common jail. So based on that, there must be due process.
Okay.
And according to them, the early invitation that was sent to them, there was no issue about contempt.
Okay.
So this time around, if the Senate decide to do so, it simply means they have to invite them or restart them to reappear to come along with a lawyer to show cause why they should not be held in contempt.
Okay,
But
so
that's it.
so they're going on Thursday with their lawyers
With their
to
lawyers.
show cause why they shouldn't be held in contempt for lying to the lawmakers. Are they going along with the same group of people who were invited,
hired.
the LRA, the National Road Fund, Public Procurement? And
Oh yes, because all of
Division?
them are still on an oath, so they have to reappear.
Samson David is our reporter on Capitol Hill from the Liberian Senate. Thank you so much for filling us in with that detail.
Thank you.
Great. So we're still on what's trending
Yeah.
in Liberia today. We know that His Excellency, the President of Liberia, met today with former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan, and we're told he is in Liberia with a high-powered delegation of West African elders, and to advance the objective of this forum, which is an initiative of the former president of Nigeria. While they're in Liberia, we're told that they will hold preliminary fact-finding and mediation meetings with key stakeholders
Okay.
and in and out of government, key stakeholders in and out of government ahead of the elections. In so doing, they will meet with commissioners of the National Elections Commission, chairpersons, and secretary generals of registered
Political
parties,
parties. Yeah.
and the standard bearers of Unity Party and CPP, the national legislature, and the judiciary, and so forth, civil society organizations, and what have you. So, you remember when Senator Snow was on the show, he talked about that. So we know that Goodluck Jonathan, former president of Nigeria, is here, and it's all geared towards, Liberia going to elections, and there are so many key things that should be discussed because we want peace in the sub-region. President Weah is on record for saying that he doesn't want, and he's not here to play with the presidential term limit. He is only allowed to go for a second term, and if that is over, if the people of Liberia elect him and he goes for a second term, he's not going for the third term.
Exactly. So what's trending here? According to the Africa Business Insider, Liberia ranks the 10th most peaceful country. Yes,
That's great.
Liberia ranks the 10th most peaceful country, and
where? In the world or where?
In Africa.
Oh, in Africa.
In Africa,
okay,
yeah,
good.
in Africa.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
I think that's a great milestone for our country's democracy. Yes, to be the 10th most peaceful country in Africa, where among 54 countries in Africa, you're the 10th most peaceful. That means you have you have 42 other countries that are behind you that are struggling and grappling with where you are when it comes to peace. Exactly. So that means there is an astronomical demonstration of peace, in Liberia. I think we should hail our country for this progress.
And we should heal ourselves. We should heal the government. We should heal the president. When you have a country where you fought war, and then after everything you have peaceful transition, and then you don't have peacekeepers in your country, and you're taking care of your own security, and you are the 10th peaceful country in the whole of Africa. It's a big boost, and we say, yeah, bravo to His Excellency, because whatever he does, wherever he goes, whatever he says, he doesn't stop talking about peace. And so that, I think, is resonating with the Liberian people, and we believe that peace is the way to go. Because without peace, we're in trouble.
Yesterday we were kind of cataloging, some of the criteria when it comes to giving President Weah these international accolades, right? And people try to say, we are trying to be a little much more, cosmetic, in our discussion. But to be honest, these are things, the international partners look at before they give you these international recognitions. They look at how well you're able to maintain the peace in the country. They look at how well you're able to, give, justice. They look at accountability. They look at, so many different things. And when you see your government is winning all of these different international awards, it is not just because the opposition are very, very, indifferent about your government, but you need to have a flashback. Look at the trend of the government. You understand? No international partner or no international person or country will just award your government such a huge international award without looking at all of these track records. So I think Liberia being the 10th most peaceful African country in the whole of Africa, this is concerning, it's overwhelming, and I think we need to celebrate our country for reaching this peak.
We should celebrate ourselves. We should celebrate ourselves for being peaceful, in Africa. It's important. Without peace, I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
We all know every Liberian who, is of age or was of age during the war knows what it means to maintain the peace.
So you see,
if we don't have peace, we know what happened to
what
us
happens
when we had, when we were destabilized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you see, we have demonstration. People have their political rights, right, to get into the street You see the police provide security for people. The police establish the inter relationship with even the protesters. These are things when our international partners see on camera, which they barely see in other countries, wherein people have the democratic right to go out and call the attention of their government. And then you see the government try to be repressive and oppressive and going back at them. They don't see these things happening in our country. What they see is that they see this interpersonal relationship between protester and the police. And then they became overwhelmed. And they said, but Liberia is actually demonstrating what we have not been able to see in the last decades, in centuries. Then we deserve to be at the 10th place when it comes to peaceful nations in the entire Africa. So I want to say bravo to all of us, even those, even those who are protesting. They are also promoting the peaceful aspect of this success, because if they don't protest and the government don't provide us civility and maturity, we will not be here today, Titi. We'll not be at the 10th place.
We know that Liberia is a peaceful country.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
It's still everybody's credit, and and most of all, thanks to His Excellency, because the problem, my thing is, we don't have international peacekeepers. It's very, very important. Whatever
Big
happened
problem.
in the country, even during the time we had international peacekeepers, you saw how this country was. During the 12 years of Madam Ellen Sullivan and Vice President Joseph Mubarak. Sometimes when you see the riots that are going on, and you're like, oh my God, are we going back
To
the
that
old
days, yeah.
again? People fear for that. But again, those days, we had international peacekeepers. And now, without international peacekeepers, President Weah is in his 6th year, and you can point to any, disturbance, really, really big disturbance that will call, international attention. And so it's good that we're getting this information, and Liberia is scoring high when it comes
just quite recently, Titi, in Sierra Leone, in our neighboring Sierra Leone, there was this serious civil disturbance between the people and the government, wherein a few people lost their lives.
Yeah.
Yes, and today Sierra Leone sits at the 3rd place. Can you imagine that?
Of course, I don't think that one instance, makes you, it helps you go behind because it takes away your score. But then it also it's not one day thing that makes you not to be at the top.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that the first country there has never had any
These
disturbance within their borders. But again, these are things that people look out over a long period of time, and then they grade you for that. What's trending?
Yeah.
What else is trending?
Yeah, so Mr. Ellis Carmen spoke today. He talked about the Costa's revelation. Mr. Henry Costa, we all know the political pundit, commentator Henry Costa, who spoke yesterday unveiling all of the concealed opposition plan. So Mr. Cummins said it was a waste of time. He was wrongfully prosecuted. He also said that all of what was done against him was the plan of his colleague at the time. He called them colleague. They only wanted to, defame his integrity and reduce his political capacity. So these were some of the things that he was seen to be an antagonist in the CPP, because he brings to the table credibility, transparency, accountability, and all of that. And the opposition CPP at the time did not want to see all of these things, and more besides, they didn't want to see Ellis Cummins on the ticket. So
right, let him clap for himself. Nobody. But the thing about it is that what Costa said yesterday concerning the CPP was that Costa of the All Liberian Party was very, very instrumental in making sure that former Vice President Joseph Boakai knew exactly that the framework document was tempered with.
Exactly.
Were they not to do that, according to Costa, the the Joseph Human Boakai or the former vice president's Unity Party would have been in turmoil, because as the document looked at the time, according to Costa, they wouldn't have had an opportunity, or Joseph Human Boakai would not have had an opportunity of becoming the head of the ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And so they revealed what the CPP under Cummings had in their closet. So I don't see how Cummings is coming out now to glory in that and say that, I'm seen as this person who has
She's a perfect man now.
a perfect or clear or a better agenda or a better heart for the people of Liberia, because it was just amongst them. They were doing their thing.
Mhm.
Somebody wanted to stab another person in the back, according to Costa. They had tempered with the document. And so he revealed that his All Liberian Party revealed that to a former Vice President Joseph Yumabwaka, and that is what they took the stance they took. So I don't see why, and how he can glory into that, because obviously all of them went to court, and there were, clear cut decisions that were made, and they've gone their
And
separate
it ended
ways.
up the
Yeah,
way they wanted
that's right.
it.
And they ended
So,
up their separate ways.
so yeah.
Well, so it is what it is. That's what we have trending today from our end in Liberia. We're going to open up the lines when we come back. We told you that yesterday, we told you on the show we will have with us in studio renowned Liberian economist and author Sam Jackson. Tonight, he will tell us why he believes that you Liberians should maintain President Weah's a presidency. Why you should give President Weah a second term? We will be asking him all of the tough questions right here on Open Conversation. Stay with us. We are going to take your calls now. You want to call the numbers?
Yep. So okay, let's have a break a little bit. So
Okay,
you
I
call
can
the
call the
numbers?
number.
Yeah.
So 08805140996 is the number to call, and you'll be live on Open Conversation. You can talk about any of the trending issues we talked about this evening on the show. It's your time to take your input before we talk to our guest this evening on Open Conversation. 0880-514-096 is the number, and you'll be live on the program. Let's take our very first caller. Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening to a group of people studio. My name is David because and I phone this evening for the particular avenue to work community. This is for your analysis.
Hello, Dole.
David, are you there?
Today, you know, we had very terrible weather
Yeah,
today.
today it's really, really. Hello? Let's see if we can take this one. I want to is that a creepy for you? The civilized crewmen here. They want to
Too
crew
good.
people. It's raining cat and dog.
Yeah, Castle.
0880514
096.
096 is the number to call, and then you will be live on Open Conversation, and we can talk about the trending issues we talked about. Liberia is ranked at the 10th most peaceful country
in Africa.
Africa, out of 54 countries
Out of
in
54,
Africa,
yeah.
Liberia comes at 10th. And so it's important that we continue to keep the peace. Good luck. Jonathan is here. We're going to elections. Hello. Good evening, sir. I'm
Good.
good.
You have a better for such student motion. No, we all here aware that and all of the laws already have restrictions to then moving with act or doing or even everything. Today, we do most of the peace. The thank God that God is the most peaceful country in Africa. That credit breakdown, President George Valencia, CEO of Berkeley Liberia, in his current purpose, and I'm calling on all of you, some for towards this. We are not going too wrong.
Okay.
We are going more wrong.
Okay.
One wrong victories, some for towards this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you also. Good evening.
Yeah, we did it. We did it. Second time around, talking with the negotiation. You know, like,
David, you got 30 seconds.
I'm calling on the other.
David, go ahead.
Okay, so President George Manuel has a very long history of speaking to the peace of this country. When Liberia also ruled, when Liberia was in Egypt, they took President George Manuel, who came from the diaspora, to go to the refugee camp to lobby and show that this country is country. So this president goes down there that this president will maintain peace. Today, this president has won peace. Liberia has been playing for the map on this president that is
Okay.
This president is a president of peace, and I can guarantee you that they come to upcoming election, they'll be conducted peacefully. Thank you
Okay.
for putting me up on this.
Thank you also for being a part of the program. Hello.
Hello?
You're live. Please go ahead. Tell us your name and where you're joining us from.
Thank you very much. This is Wally Abu Mesa. I wanted to discuss on this from District State Ethical Problem. Let me first appreciate that this is for the topic of discussion. And let me first appreciate every Nigerian that are protecting the peace of the country. Because the peace of the country is on the citizens of the country. So, and Liberia is the only country that we, as a Liberian, should not protect from.
Okay.
Hello, Abu.
Let's go off the line. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good evening, sir.
Yes, this is it. Thank you. Thank you so much for the show. This is Pastor David. You know, I mean, honestly, peace is a must. And President Weah has always been known as a man of peace for us. We have always said, encourage our friends. We can't get this country backward. And I don't see it happening. All of us understand that we need to progress as a nation. And you know, many times I hear people from the opposition say the peace of this country rests on the shoulder of the president. I don't know. I've got different view because all of us got a role to play. I mean, you want to govern, you also want to govern in a peaceful environment. And the president also wants to turn the country over to people who also come to manage the peace. So it is not just with the president, it's with all of us. I know elections will come, people feel bitter, but after election, it is unique that we unite this country forward. Yes?
Thank you.
Thank you, Pascal.
Hello.
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 Yeah, go.
So when you left the line,
No, I'm back to where I didn't really back to.
Mo-
What is the question?
you got 30 seconds.
Yeah, 30
for
seconds,
last
Abu. Now,
call.
just. The best things to present to.
More especially we that on the opposition community because we are maintaining a peace and stability within this country. Because we don't want to carry this country back to where it's coming from. Because that is what we have. We cannot be together as a citizen of the country. So when it comes to MSF and Costa, one of the things that is back to the coming of the nation, that is peace, that is the all kind of crap. It is political entity that
So they call that a political non-entity. Call him. You're breaking Abu.
Okay, Abu,
You're
thank you.
breaking.
Yeah,
You're
thank you,
breaking. Abu.
thank
You're
you, thank
breaking.
you,
You're
thank you.
breaking. Because
Okay.
no entity today.
Thank you so much. Well, that's how we're going to conclude what's trending today. We heard your imports, and we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we go to our guest who is already waiting to take our questions on open conversation. Stay with us. Shortly, we play host to renowned Liberian economist and author Samuel Jackson.
From the east to the west, north to the south, yeah, let's come together as one. They say united we stand, divided we fight. If we not celebrate, we do it for you. Voila, you forget that. You from Lower Country, you from Maryland. Voila, you from Rewa City. I'm a bad that way on your people. I walk on the fine way. Tabila, Kriwako, I love Liberia, oh yeah, yeah. Free land on liberty, Liberia, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I love Liberia, oh yeah, yeah. Play for me and you, Liberia, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I was raised in the slum, but I chilled with my guns. Kept it on the low, but we fought for the bones. True son of the soil, I'm a prince in my own. Never gonna lie, me, I love LIB. Even though it's far, when we show we can face it. It's not a prophecy, I know that we can rise again. Holding my hand, I holding your own. United we stand, divided we fall. You know what I say when I count with ball. When I chill on that side, and I get no bro. I got L to the O to the V and the E. If we fighting together, we can conquer this team. From the east to the west, then waving the flag from the north to the side. Yeah, that's joining the team. You go where you pella, you love my crown. Who can?
Okay, welcome back to Open Conversation. Like we said, today our prime guest is renowned economist, Liberia renowned economist, Mr. Samuel Jackson. Let us now go to Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, good evening and welcome to Open Conversation for the first time. Mr. Jackson, can you unmute? I think you're muted.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you, Titi, for inviting me. It is a great honor on this wet Tuesday evening here in the great city of Monrovia, formerly Crystal Palace, one of the oldest cities in West Africa in terms of its its independence. Yes, its independence. You know, of course, we have older cities, but I'm talking about in terms of independence and as a Republican form of government, and one of the only countries in the global South that did not was not colonized. And I'm very proud to be a citizen of this great country. And thanks for all the kind words, Coleman, renown, and all of that. I'm very, very humble. I'm not renowned. I'm just a poor basketball from somewhere.
Look how you did. So, Mr. Jackson, let's go a little bit social. How are you going through the weather today? It's been cats and dogs. How is it?
Yeah. I had to run some errands today, and I just got in about like maybe 15 minutes just before you send me the link. But I mean, you know, I'm not sugar, I'm not salt. And you know, when I was a young man, playing in the rain and enjoying myself in the rain. I love the rain. The rain is good for vegetation. We have the luscious vegetation probably in all of West Africa. In the Upper Guinea forest is the rains that produce all of our greenery and of all of our nice, really oxygen for the people like we're to breathe such clean air. So the rain may be sometimes a little bit attractive, but it's necessary for economic development in terms of agriculture and also for the environment. So I'm very pleased that was at this rain. But of course, you know, when you're young and you don't have transportation and you're selling in the market and you're doing things, you know, it can be really rough. I can remember when I was a young man in Sunuwen, having to wear my rain boots and my raincoat to go to school. You know, those days that, you know, my guy was just like, oh my God. And You pass some places, the flooding, I mean, it's still the same in many respects, but we've seen great improvements in the human condition in Liberia over the last 50 years. In fact, over the last 100 years, I mean, and we're going to go over those figures tonight, but I'm just very, very happy to be a Liberian, happy to be alive at this time. Because when I was growing up, TT, there were only two radio stations. There were ELWA and ELBC. Up to 1980. They were only, yeah. So now if you have a smartphone, you can open up your own radio or TV station. So it is a fascinating time to be alive in this generation.
I like that. I like that word. It's a fascinating time to be alive. But I like to say congratulations. You just got married.
Yes, yeah. And old man.
Beautiful wife.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In fact, she's on the other part of the house. And every time she's going back, I have to stop the cam because I don't want to see, her figure to be on thing. But
you don't want us to see her in the camera.
No, because I mean, it's just she's very comfortable walking around the house, and I'm imposing upon her time and all of that. So I had to ask her nicely to be able to come and spend about an hour and a half. So it's one of those things, it's all for a good cause. It's for the cause of Liberia.
Absolutely. And it's good having you this evening on Open Conversation, Mr. Jackson. There's never a dull moment with you. So let's go straight into it. My very first question to you tonight would be, how do you measure, sir, President Weah's 6-year development and leadership achievements? What is the empirical evidence or reliance as opposed to opposition claims that President Weah has done nothing?
Okay, so that is a very, very, very good question, and which I want for us to take it, in segments, right? Because we have the PAPD. The PAPD is the 4 pillars of the PAPD, right? So we're looking at basically microeconomy and jobs and investment in people and improvements in the human condition, governance and the rule of law and security, right? So the adversaries of this government, I call them the knittering nabobs of negativity, and that's a big word in my memory. But what it means is that
you're referring to the opposition.
I'm referring to the opposition, right?
Okay.
Knittering nabobs of negativity, right? They're demagogues, okay, and they want us to believe this false narrative that either we are stuck, okay, in neutral and the country isn't going anywhere, or there's a major degree of retrogression, right? But
are we going anywhere?
That we are not going any place. That we just talk either when the car is in neutral, okay, or the car is in reverse. That's how they want to characterize this. I call this a false narrative. It's a false narrative because the way to measure progress, human progress, okay, there are quantifiable indicators, global indicators. And the reason why I know there are quantifiable global indicators is because as an economist, I work internationally on devising the indicators, okay, the measurements of progress. And the measurements of progress is not just only in income, but it's also in the multiple dimensions of poverty. You have to look at life expectancy. And if you look at life expectancy, Liberia has the highest life expectancy in the Mano River Union. That is just a fact. We are at 64.1 years. La Cote d'Ivoire, which is a much more developed country, a larger economy, much more institutional support, right? They are at only 59 years. And if you look at Guinea is at about 61, 62, and Sierra Leone is just about 63. So Liberia has the highest life expectancy in the Mano River Union. Now let's look at something called the Human Development Index. And
what did you say Liberia's life expectancy?
64.1.
64.1 years, right?
Okay.
So, and that is, go to the World Bank indicators. You can find it there. Okay.
Okay.
Every year, the United Nations, the UNDP, United Nations Development Program, they put up a report called the Human Development Report. That's the HDR. The HDR of 2022 show Liberia one of only 10% of countries that saw an increase in the Human Development Index. The reason why many countries saw a retrogression in the Human Development Index was because of the effects of COVID. Because of COVID. The reason why Liberia did so well because we had a very low case fertility ratio, the number of cases versus the number of deaths. That's what we call the case fertility ratio. Less than 400 people died from COVID in Liberia. So clearly and inarguably, okay, Liberia has the highest life expectancy in the region. So let's look at some other stuff that is important for people. Let's look at health. Maternal mortality, the percentage of women who die in childbirth, and that measurement clearly is how many women per 100,000 die during childbirth. Okay, prenatal, during natal, and just postnatal. In 2013, the Liberian Demographic and Health Survey under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, 1,072 per 100,000 women were dying in childbirth. In 2020, the Liberian Demographic and Health Survey of 2020, only 652 women were dying in childbirth. So we cut that figure in half. We'll look at some other measurement in terms of access to health care. You want to look at the proportion of births attended by skilled health attendants. Under Ellen, between 60 to 67% of women, of children were born in clinics or hospitals. Today, that figure is right around 80%. And they can go and check that out. Okay, I'm not making any magical figures out. Okay, so they always ask about macroeconomy and jobs. So let's go to the macroeconomy. For Omar Meridan, let me explain what macroeconomic stability is. The most important asset a country has in terms of its economy is the value of its currency, the Liberian dollar, right? But we have a dual currency, right? Most of the people are in the informal economy. If you look at the size of your workforce are people between the ages of 16 and 65. People between the ages of 16 and 65 in the workforce. That's 80.9% of your workforce. That means four out of every 5 person working in Liberia is working in subsistence, either doing agriculture, they're selling in the street, or they're doing some kind of side hustle to earn a living. The reason why we have such huge informality is because we got something in economics we call structural defects. The structural defects that hinder Liberia is what? Electricity and roads. And in order for companies to relocate to Liberia, to get involved in services, manufacturing, value addition, and all of that, you need power. There are constraints of power. Remember Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, one of the things that she said when she came to power, the Unity Party, was what? Small light today and big light tomorrow, right? So they inaugurated the HFO, like thinking like 20, 25 megawatts. And then they went to the Millennium Challenge Corporation when they got compact, and they built a dam, they refurbished a dam, an old dam, which was 64 megawatts before, and they added like another 24 megawatts to only 88 megawatts. Okay. The Millennium Challenge Corporation gave us $257 million. The Norwegian gave us another 100 million. The Japanese gave us hundreds of millions, and the EU and other people. So you invested about $1 billion in energy infrastructure, and you were only able to cover 10% of the population, and 60% of that electricity that was stolen, right? So what has happened today? We are now integrated into the West African power pool through the CLSG lines. And instead of only 10% of the population uh, with electricity coverage, you have 29.7%, nearly 30%. The other thing that's been obstructing Liberia is what? Road network, farm to market roads, and then the transportation of goods, the warehousing, and the packaging. So since Liberia does not process a significant amount of its agricultural produce, it means we're not creating jobs through the value chain. That's why we have a high degree of informality. But we have reduced informality by 2%. Now, that is the most difficult part of any economy to overcome the structural defects. Sometimes it takes a dozen years or more than like a generation. But all of the roads that are being built now, the electricity that is coming, what it means is that we are attracting companies now because the cost of electricity is now what? Almost manageable. It is not competitive like in Ghana, like Cote d'Ivoire, where it's like 9 cents per kilowatt hour. But we reduced it from 55 cents per kilowatt hour to 35 cents, and now it's just right about 19, 20 cents. And for certain disadvantaged areas, we make it 14%. So what has that done? It brought in a steel factory. Instead of having one cement factory in the country, we have what? We now have 4 cement factories. And if you look at the Monrovia Industrial Park, the Monrovia Industrial Park used to be 50% occupied. It is now 100% occupied. Instead of having just one water, yeah.
Mr. Jackson, I like the way you go in, one after the other, but I like us to take it one by one so that we understand exactly what you're talking about. And I like to start off with you talked about life expectancy in Liberia being at 64%, 64.1%. What was it?
64.1 years.
1 year.
64.1 years. So anybody, Liberians will live up to 64 years, right?
So the way it means that a child that is born today,
Is
that means a child that is born today will the average life expectancy 64.1 years.
Up to 64 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Upwards.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
a
But
child
in
born
20
today I want to know what the number was in 2013, 2014, 2015.
Okay. Let's start from 1980. In 1980, the life expectancy was only 40 years. Okay.
In 1980.
Yes. Okay. So when the war ended, life expectancy was just around 54, 55 years. So when you put in all these structures, Ellie moved it up to about 60.1 years. Now, since they left out of power, we've increased it by 3 to 4 years. And typically life expectancy moves up. It inches up. It goes up a generation. But because of the phenomenal progress that has been made in this country in the human condition, we have a higher life expectancy than our neighbors.
So your life expectancy goes higher when your living condition improves, right?
Exactly. Your access to health, when you reduce maternal mortality, when you reduce infant mortality, and you increase access to health, and you provide a lot of clinics, and the percentage of the population that live within 5 kilometers of a health clinic. Titi, when I was born not in the hospital. I was born out in the hospital. But if you just take typical Monrovia, how many children today now are being born in homes, like in the bathroom, like I was born in the bathroom, right? So because the number of health clinics have improved and changed, so now women are going to we used to have only one maternity center when I was growing up. Only one maternity center, and the only people who afford to send their their wives or spouses to
Well, the
have
people
babies
who
in
had money, right?
exactly,
For the people who have
exactly,
money. So you're saying that during the Ellen regime, it came up to from 54 to 60%, 60.1%. And then
exactly.
under President Weah, it has, gone up. It has
Increased to 60,
increased to
64.1 years. Exactly.
64.1 year. Okay,
Yeah,
great. So,
exactly.
and you say it's because of the health centers and the hospitals that are being built in Liberia.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
also contributing to that.
Yeah,
And you
and the
said that.
access. Yeah, and also the
Mhm.
prenatal care.
Okay.
The
Hmm.
prenatal care is extremely important. When a woman gets pregnant, she has to have access to nutrition. She has to
Hmm.
have access to medical care. She has to have access to all kinds of nutrition, and she has to be monitored. A woman has to go to the hospital on a regular basis when she's carrying the baby, so they can measure the size of the baby, they can measure growth, and there are any anomalies within the birth defects and all of that, they can
Hmm.
make a
All of
change.
that can be taken care of. So in 2013, 1,072 women died while giving birth out of 100,000, right?
Exactly
According to
right.
you. And
Right.
now the number has dropped
Yeah.
significantly to 652 under President Weah. And you
Yeah.
think
Exactly.
that
But not
is
according to me. TT, that is not according to me. And that's according to the Liberian Demographic and Health Survey.
okay? So that
Liberian
has reduced
Demographic and
from
yeah.
1,072 to
Yes.
652, and you
Yeah.
think that is, an enormous progress, right?
Exactly,
Mhm.
right?
Great.
So the way that we measure the human condition is in the
Hmm.
Human Development Index, right?
Hmm.
Liberia is still largely a low income country with a lot of, depressed areas and what have you, right?
Yeah.
There is nobody that can wave a magic wand like Mr. Cumming proposes, and all of a sudden you see skyscrapers going up, right? But
Hmm.
let's look at the physical condition of the country. Alien time versus now, right? Look at Tottenham Boulevard. Tottenham Boulevard, the commercial business district. So the commercial business district is largely moving towards where? Cinco, east, right? So if
Hmm.
you look at Tottenham Boulevard, look at the quality of stores, the quality of businesses and the banks that are on Tottenham Boulevard. You see IB, you see Global Bank, you see UBA, you see several branches of UBA, as a matter of fact, right? And
Hmm.
then you look at Oporto's, you look at Zara, you look at Orca, you look at Wooden, you look at Loving. Okay, so the people said, "Are you creating jobs?" We haven't done something called a labor force service in 2010, okay, because it's an expensive proposition and they are competing priorities. But if you look at the human condition in terms of, and also something in economics we call spatial improvements, clearly you see spatial improvements. And these spatial improvements, like road connectivity, like electricity connectivity, like the building of houses in the construction industry. Look how, besides just looking at Tottenham Boulevard and these businesses that have been located there, the services industry, the restaurants, the apartment complexes going up, the condominiums, and the office buildings and all of that. Look at how expansive the city of Monrovia is now becoming, right? The
Hmm.
city of Monrovia, what we call a Monrovia metropolitan area, stretches now as far west as Pearl River and as far east as Disco Hill and into Marshall. You see those houses that are being built. You see the houses that are being built. So there's a resurgence in the construction industry. Remember when Ome was here, there was a huge degree of occupancy with people renting their homes on Ome, right?
Hmm.
So Ome left. When Ome left, what happened? The real estate market crashed. It crashed. If you look at hotel occupancy, if you look at restaurants, if you look at other service industry like dry cleaners and those kind of things there, because you have 17,000 troops and tens of thousands of people associated with UN activities. That was caught up in 2017. So when that was caught up in 2017, when the government came to power in 2018, you saw the difficulties the government was experiencing, right? And you saw the quote June 6th demonstration. You saw all the other things. The opposition was trying to make it like this was going to be a permanent position. But since 2021, the things that, in the terms of the macroeconomy, you look at liquidity within the banking system. If you look at 2019, 2020, 2018, it was very difficult to go to a bank and take out thousands of dollars. But now,
what has changed now?
Yeah.
What has changed now?
What has changed is that the macroeconomic stability and improve economic conditions in the country is bringing, because when they were leaving, there was a lot of outward remittances. They just zapped the money out. Because when Ellen left, 3/4 of the cabinet went with her, and all of the people that worked with her, they left. And then Ombe left. So when they were leaving, the assets, the money they had in the bank, they took it out. Banking assets at that time was only $800 million. $800 million of all the banks, the 9 banks and the 80 plus branches, only 800 million. But if we look at banking assets today, banking assets have increased to over $1.2 billion.
How did the government manage to do that?
Well, because of macroeconomic stability and improving the conditions to attract businesses. They always say that, why I know there are no investments in Liberia, because you know what they consider to be investment? Investments in the extractive sector, like an ArcelorMittal coming, like a B Mountain coming, and those kind of investments in the extractive sector, right?
What do you consider to be investments?
Okay, those are investments. I mean, that does not make it clear, but those are not sustainable investments, and they have limited linkages to the economy. Because
we have sustainable investments in Liberia.
You have sustainable investments in Liberia now, and I can prove that to you. Okay. In 2012, the Ministry of Labor did a survey, a mini survey of the number of jobs that were created within the economy. And in the mining and penning industry, only 800 jobs were created. But there were more jobs created in the pimping and keka industry than that was created in the mining and penning industry. And also, you look at private sector investment and in private sector employment versus public sector employment. There was more employment within the public sector. The public sector went from when they were right sizing and downsizing to right about 70,000 workers on the payroll by the time they left. You follow me? Okay. So what is sustainable are those businesses there that don't have a timeline to finish, because the life of a mine, the life of an iron ore mine, the life of a gold mine, the level of any kind of thing in the extractive sector, when the resources are finished, it's dead, it's gone, and then you leave like bombing holes that we had there before, right? But the kind of investments that are coming to the country in the small and medium enterprise industry with small scale manufacturing, like I told you about the Monrovia Industrial Park. And then one of the industries that have been the foundation of this economy since 1926 was what? Firestone and rubber, right? Rubber, right? What happened during the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration? In the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration, because of the contraction in the global economy, you saw that rubber prices went significantly down and the rubber industry nearly died. Even with an investment of over $200 million in the Liberia agriculture sector investment plan. Don't quote me. This is established. Liberia agriculture sector investment plan, which is financed by USAID to improve agriculture production, and some of that was able to go to cash crop and tree crop. The rubber industry died. It is just now, there's a resurgence now because we have Jetty is putting up a what? A rubber processing plant. The first significant,
Exactly. Mr.
the
Jackson.
first significant rubber processing plant in what? Since 1926, in almost 100 years.
Great.
Liberia, yes, Liberia had, in terms of global rubber production, Liberia was just about 25-30% at one time of global rubber production. But that figure has gone down to less than 1% because Liberia did not manage, grow, and integrate the rubber planting, harvesting, and processing into the global industry. So countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia. In fact, now the global standard for rubber processing and the quality of rubber is standard Malaysian rubber and standard Indonesian rubber,
Mr.
right?
Jackson, Mr.
Yeah.
Jackson, let me hold you there a little bit. I
Mm.
want to take you back a little bit. The opposition will always say that this government has not been able to attract investors. You just said that. And all of what you've talked about, most of what you're talking about is about, the capital, Monrovia. It's about Montserrat County. When it comes to the interior part of the country or
Great,
other counties, what will
great.
you say? Yeah, because the people they are listening to you, how has
Okay,
their lives, how have their lives gotten better under President Weah?
okay, great, fantastic. It's a great country. So now we look at. I was giving you the developments in the urban center, right? And I was going to
Hmm.
go to the developments in the rural center, right? So where are your in the rural counties? Where are the business areas in the rural counties? Number one is Ganta, the second largest city in the country. That is a cross-border trade. Cross-border trade. Ganta is supported by cross-border trade, and you see, I mean, phenomenal growth in terms of Ganta, in terms of the guest houses, all kinds of businesses. You see banks, you see trading going on. Then you go to Plebo. You see what is happening in Plebo, the cross-border trade. Then you go to Port Waterside. Then you go to Frenchman, right? Most of rural Liberia is still subsistence farming. And I told you the reason why is mostly subsistence farming is because of the structural defects of roads and electricity. So the government is working on doing what the Ganta Harper Highway. But the fish town to Harper has been done. That is increased some degree of productivity along those, right? Then I told you about the resurgence of the rubber industry. The in Maryland County, for example. Then you see, but what is happening just right outside here in I mean, in Cape Town County with M&G Gold. M&G exports about $250 million worth of gold a year, and they employ hundreds of people over there. And you see the cross-border trade. And it is very important, the cross-border trade, in fact, the trading architecture is a significant portion of your GDP. Trade. Our
Has
mouth
that
and our
improved? Has all of what you're talking about, has it, happened or improved as a result of the President Weah's leadership?
okay, so when I told you about macroeconomic stability and what the
Hmm.
PAP did, the investments into public sector investments, road
Hmm.
connectivity, building hospitals, building schools, the 28 schools in the southeast, right?
Hmm.
The contact to Sanicola Highway, and all of those things that are happening. These are all contributing to the resurgence of economic activity. Don't take my word for it. Look at the economic growth figure. In 2017, there was like almost like negative growth. This 2022 was the first time post Ebola where you had a significant economic growth of more than 4%. Then look at the other indicators that are tied to, to economic growth. If you look at something called domestic resource mobilization, the amount of money that have been collected, they left the
Hmm.
budget just around 600 million and sometimes contracted to 522 million. Our budget now has gone up to almost $800 million, right? So
Hmm.
we're doing more effective tax administration combined with economic development and economic growth. And the other way that you can know that economic activity is increasing, if you look at the volume of transactions, electronic payments, like mobile money. On an Ellen Dam, it was only 200 million. And last year, according to the central bank, it was $2 billion in transactions.
Mhm.
$2 billion in transactions. So they could only accommodate one cement factory. Now there are 4 cement factories in the country. They had no steel factory. We got 1 steel factory in the country. They had no real world-class rubber processing plant. We got 1 rubber processing plant. Okay, on an island, you only had a few world-class hotels, right? But more world-class hotels are being built in Liberia now. And then if you go, like I said, let's talk about Mawata. Those the market houses that have been built in Douala, they were selling in the mud. But now a pretty decent market house has been built for them. More than 20 have been built around the country. And then now they're bringing in the goods, right? Okay. The volume of trade between the rural and urban area has gone up. It's reflected in terms of your economic growth figure, and it's reflected in terms of
can you put a percentage to that? The trade between, the volume of trade between the urban and rural areas.
Oh no, okay, because that is something in economics we call it's granular, it's very very micro. I haven't done any basic research on that to determine what the volume of trade between the urban, but you can make a determination that in terms of agricultural output, and agricultural output is actually increasing. Okay, the agricultural output is actually increasing. We are importing less pepper and better ball from Guinea and La Cote d'Ivoire. Many people are involved in well, because people are producing it cheaply and reasonably within the country.
Why they didn't do that before? Why were they not doing that before?
Because the agricultural infrastructure was not developed to the point where people could reasonably grow those foods and they could deliver it to the markets. That was the thing. But we still have problems in terms of infrastructure. I mean, I'm not here as a Pollyanna to tell you that everything is all rosy.
So I would ask you about the problems we have. I want you to speak to this. What's your take on the much talked about payroll harmonization to ensure equity, bringing on stream more medical staff and teachers and specialized training? What's your take on that?
Okay, so let's look at the root of that problem, right? Why was harmonization necessary? Harmonization, I'm going to put my air conditioner down, okay? Oh my God, okay. Okay, so remember, Titi, you were here. Remember the buzzword there when the LNM came in was what? Right size and downsize, right? The budget in the last year of the Judy Bryant government was about $80 million, right? So Ellen brought that up by 2008, 2009 to 129 million. So when they came in, they said the public payroll was bloated, right? So if the public payroll is bloated, 1 second, I'm trying to, oh my God, I'm running up here. Okay, they said the public payroll was bloated. Okay? Means there were too many people on the public payroll. Am I correct? Okay. So the idea was to only put essential workers, like maybe nurses, healthcare workers, bring in people who are very essential, so as to manage and grow the government and grow the economy. But what happened was that because of the political pressure on Ellen, she was not creating jobs fast enough in the private sector, even though there was economic growth. But that economic growth was not translating to jobs because a lot of the investments that were being made, like I told you, was being made in the extractive sector, right? So the public sector employment grew faster than the private sector. So it came from 25, 30,000 employees. By the time they left, it was at 70,000, and the public wage bill was 66 to 70% of total expenditure
Hmm.
at 290. So when we came in, because of some of the pressures that we had, to political pressures, to put some of our people who supported us, we took it up to just about 318, $320 million. The IMF told us, in order for us to get, because we had those issues in terms of, in 2019, 2018, we had high inflation. There were problems with government revenues and all of that, and we needed to have an extended credit facility to kind of bring in fiscal balance. So the IMF, as one of the conditionalities to give us the money, was to reduce the public sector wage bill to about $290 million. So in order for us to do that, the government, in its wisdom, looked at people doing similar jobs, and they saw there was a huge disparity, okay, with wage employment between two people doing the same job. And then they looked at ministers that were getting exorbitant salaries. So the thing was to bring all of those into balance. It hurt some people. It brought the wages down. It brought the wages and salary and benefits of 15,000 workers on the government payroll. And that was painful, no doubt about it. But it had to be done so we could create something called fiscal space, so we'll be able to do some of the things that we're doing in terms of the public sector investment. Road
So how has it
connectivity.
benefited us? Yeah, I want you to talk about how it benefited
Okay,
the people of Liberia.
so the first thing is harmonization, is equal pay for equal work. So you no longer have a disparity between two people doing the same job, one driver making $150, another driver making $800. So there's been a harmonization of that. And then there's been a classification, because in any human resource planning strategy, you have to have classification, like an entry-level job, and then you move up until you become top tier in the civil service. So all of that was done with the harmonization. So the CSA now has a jobs classification scale that is world class. So then the savings that were made, okay, from the 320 million to the 290, it's about $25-30 million. Significant slice of that money is going to what? Schools, it's going to hospitals, going to road connectivity, and going to pay the outstanding debts that we have with the CLSG. I don't know if you know but we just have to pay almost $50 million debt that were left by the Elling administration.
You're coming in very thin. You were talking about depth,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better.
Okay, you can hear me better, right? Okay, great.
Yes.
So
You're talking about depth.
Debt.
Yeah, you're talking about debts left by the Elling administration when you went.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So that debt was not paid to the West African Power Pool. Electricity that had been provided that was not paid for, because LEC was not rationalized. They had an international crew at LEC. There was 60% power theft. 60% of the power at LEC was being stolen. So they were not collecting enough revenues to pay, because it's a pay-as-you-go plan with CLSG, right? So that money was not there to be paid. So when we came in...
How come you say that when the Unity Party folks were on this show and said that, they didn't have that kind of debt?
Oh, no, you're talking about two different kind of debts. Okay, let's talk about you're talking about the public sector, which is the global figure for the debt. The debt did increase, of course. I'm talking about...
No, I'm talking about...
No,
the one that has to do with the LEC.
Oh, no, there was accumulated from their time. Oh, a significant amount was accumulated, and there was a lot of leakage and seepages in LEC. when we took it over. That there's money captured now with the mirror broad thing. They're going after the seepages with electricity theft. Electricity, 60%. I mean, I did my master thesis at LSE on that. 60% electricity was being stolen. Because so if you have 60% electricity that was being stolen, it means that the quantity of electricity that is being used in the country, you are unable to pay the producers. The producers are in La Cote d'Ivoire, so we're owing this money. So that money had to be paid before another rationalization and improvements in the transmission and distribution of electricity. And if I've been in my apartment now, I came here 2 weeks ago since I left the United States. My light has gone up maybe twice. And you see some stability in LEC. I mean, let's be very clear about that. And I told you about the coverage in LEC now. They left it at 10%. 10% of households. We are 30% of households. So it's like one.
Let me go back a little bit. When you talk about 10% and you talk about 100 million being spent, do you think that was enough electricity?
He said billion.
Yeah,
Billion.
$1 billion being spent. Do you think that's enough for a population of ours to just have 10% of the population having electricity, having spent all of that money?
So that's a very good question. So they did not do something called long-term strategic planning for energy self-sufficiency. So they did something in 2013 called the Liberian Constraints Analysis to determine what were the obstacles to economic growth, constraints to economic growth. And that is a requirement to get the MCC compact, right? You cannot get MCC money without determining what would be the most efficient use of that money. So they determine, so they looked at the constraints to the economic growth, and they said there were roads and electricity. So they decided that we cannot just leave off the HFO, the heavy fuel plant on the Bushra Island. We need to do what? Refurbish the dam. But that dam was built in 1966 with an output of only 66 megawatts. So what they did was they spent 257 million plus 100 million plus about 500 or 600 million more. They spent just on refurbishing the dam, $357 million. The rule of thumb globally is that $1 million should produce 1 megawatt. So the $357 million that was spent should have produced 357 megawatt. That was the most expensive dam in the history of the world. The most expensive dam.
Are you saying that the dam that was built by, that was refurbished by the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government was the most, it's the most expensive dam in the whole world?
Yeah, in terms of output, how much money was spent? They spent, if you look, let's divide 357 million by 88 megawatt. You get how much? How much you get? Please, young man, please do that math for me quickly. Okay, I can do that math quickly. Okay,
I can do that. Why do you think you did that?
Call the figure.
No, but I will do the math. So let's do the math.
So nobody advised them to do it better. What did you think they should have done, differently?
Okay, so that was $4 million per megawatt. $4 million per megawatt, and the average cost of output 1 megawatt should be about $1 million. They spent $4 million per megawatt. 4 million. So that's an extremely expensive dam. Okay. The other issue with that dam, as you know, TT, is the technical failure, because during the dry season, it decreases its output by more than 2/3. More than 2/3.
But why did they do that? Nobody advised them.
Well, a combination of things. Ellen did a lot of things that was a political dam. That is not a dam that is configured in the long-term energy plan of Liberia. And I didn't say that. The MCC, they went and they went and asked for a study to be done. And I can send you the copy of that study. Is done by the company out of Washington, D.C. called Mathematica. And I have that because I just told you I did my master thesis on electricity access in Liberia.
Mhm.
They said the only benefit of that dam was that Liberia had an asset. That's all it is, an asset. But in terms of its utility value, it had very little utility value for the population. Very little, very little. Because the thing is, anytime you want to build a dam, it has to be integrated into the country's long-term energy plans, right? Because you have to plan for growth in your population. You have to plan for economic growth in terms of the processing of output and value addition and all of those things. An 88 megawatt dam plus the heavy fuel plant, which is, I mean, not good in terms of efficient for sustainable development because you're using diesel fuel on Bushra Island. It is polluting, right? So sustainable sources of energy are what? A dam, solar, wind, right? So we did not invest monies into the different forms of energy. And we built a dam that was technically deficient, that could not meet the energy needs of the country. It is sustainable energy needs of the country. It's clear. I'm not saying that. Anything I tell you, TT, I will refer you to some published authority, Mathematica, wrote
Okay.
that report.
So, we will go to the lines soon, but let me ask you this question. Where are the areas that need more focus at this time in development programs and achievements of President Weah, you think?
Okay, so the first thing that has been done, and it seems to be working, is macroeconomic stability, the value of the Liberian dollar, inflation. Because if you keep a stable currency, you keep price levels at a minimum. Liberia inflation is 8.9%, Sierra Leone 42%, Ghana was a 50% inflation. So the inflationary spiral in 2017, 2018 was going toward 35, 40%. Now, that is one of the largest drop in West Africa. Largest drop, 8.9%. You see a little, yeah. You see a little tick up in terms of the value of the Liberian dollar is coming down, but because of things that are associated with maybe election spending and those kind of things, right? Right. But by and large, the value of the currency has been kept, I mean, at a very stable rate for 3 to 4 years. So that is extremely important. The other thing that is important too, in terms of the financial system, you must have access, because people put money in the banks for 3 reasons: safety, right? So nobody can come to your house and then take your money. And something called liquidity. Liquidity means that I need my money, I want to go to the bank, I use my ATM, I get it. Or I can use my mobile money that is connected to my bank account, I can send it, I can buy goods and services, I can do those kind of things, right? And then, of course, the next thing is for income, okay? So let's look at the bank's honor earning, okay, in terms of what something the economists call M1, M2, right? Okay, it's the quantity of currency within the economy. Before honor earning, 96% of currency in circulation was outside of the banking system. 96%. That is almost like 9 out of every $10 was outside of the banking system. Yes, but outside of the banking system. But now it's only 80%. So we have 16% more within the financial system. And you know how we accomplish that? With something called the improved payment system. People don't need cash anymore because there are different forms of payment now. You got your Visa,
mobile money, right? Visa card and all of that. Okay, right. But you haven't told us.
And your mobile money. In Kenya, In Kenya, 90% of all transactions is done by electronic payments or mobile money, something called M-Pesa.
And we're
Liberia
getting
now,
there as a country, I think.
last year, TT, I haven't seen cash for a long time. When I go to a restaurant, I use my card. When I want to send money to my people here, I use my SendWave. So there are all kinds, multiple facets in terms of how people can get paid and what
Mm,
that does in economics, okay? And
mm,
for students of economics out there, it increases something called the velocity of the money. Because the faster the money can be spent, more economic activities can occur. And then there's a rising GDP in terms of output, and people can buy more because when there's a higher demand, there's what? Higher production, there is more income, there is higher GDP per capita, then improvements in the human condition in terms of access to health, access to education, access to leisure, and etc., etc., etc.
So you haven't told us what, this government has to focus on in terms of development
No,
as
no,
we've been
you asked me.
progressing. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
what does the government? I know you support the government and you believe that President Ware should be re-elected because of all of the things you have explained here. But going forward, we got less than 5 months to elections, right?
yeah.
What do you think should be the focus of this government in terms of development?
So okay, so but the focus of not just this government, the focus of any government
Mm-hmm.
should be improvements in the livelihood of the people. And that is reflected, first of all, in number one, jobs creation. We need to
Okay.
focus more on jobs creation. We need
Okay.
to focus more on decreasing the Zogos in the streets. We need to find a way of that, a national wealth, a social welfare policy to do that. We need to improve security. We need to improve security. But you are just from some agency that said that Liberia is what the 10th most peaceful nation in Africa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
so the the demagogues in the opposition who want to create
Yes.
this false narrative, they want people to believe like Liberia is like a no-go zone. The country is not livable. You can't sleep at night. And all of these things, etc., etc., etc. But the fact of the matter is, yes, we have our issue with our Zogos, and the Zogos is in it's a universal problem with the opiate crisis, even in the United States. That's the opiate crisis. We should do more with interdiction. We should do more with drug enforcement. We should do more with rehabilitation. We should do more with technical vocational and education and training. But remember, TT, we are
Mm.
using unsourced revenues for most of what we're doing today. We're responsible to pay the army. We're responsible to pay the state security officers, the police. We're responsible to pay the health workers. We're responsible. We increased the pay of doctors from $700 to what? To $2,000.
2000.
Right?
Yes, yeah.
So, but there are competing priorities, right? The
Mm-hmm.
government does not have a voluminous amount of money where it can start to solve all the problems of the country at one time. And no country has that kind of money. There's limitations in terms of resources and what we can do. So the government has,
Okay.
because there are competing priorities,
I
competing
agree.
priorities,
Agree. There are competing priorities.
priorities.
So let us hear from you now before we go to the lines. The rescue, fix it, Rome manifestos versus the continuity. Incumbent. What do you say with all of what you've explained and what needs to be done? Those manifestos versus continuity. What will you say to that?
Okay, so Uncle Joe and myself, we are like family. I was married in his family. Okay, so let's just be very clear about that. He's a very good man. He's a deacon at Alpha Baptist Church. But if you look at his record, his 45 years of record in the Liberian bureaucracy in association with Liberian government, I don't see any success story that you can tell the way he's rescued anything.
What do you mean?
If you want, Yes. So let's look at his
He
area
was
of
just in Bone County, and he says that he's gonna he's gonna complete the Ellen market, Ellen Johnson Solid market that they started. He's going to make sure that the people of Bone County are more civilized because it's going to develop Bone County. He says that Batawi Waterfall, they should have been far better. The college there, the Bone Community College, according to him, that started under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, it's not doing better according to him. So he's going to make them all better.
Okay, so when somebody wants to talk about their circle of success, they have to look at what they were trained to do.
Okay.
Uncle Joe Boca was trained to be an agriculturist. Okay, so if he's trained to be an agriculturist, let him tell us in terms of quantitative and qualitative terms, what did he contribute to Liberian agriculture? Did he increase rice production? Did he increase coffee and cocoa production? Did he increase rubber production? Did he increase value addition in the rubber industry? And the evidence is no. He's not associated with any success in the agriculture sector. Let's look at the places that he was associated with. Let's look at the ADA lab. ADA lab, $30 million was given to them to produce rice in Foya. The yellow machines are there in Foya. Okay? They are being mothballed. Okay? The Liberian agricultural sector investment plan was supposed to increase production in the tree crop, which is the rubber, coffee, and cocoa. Last year, Liberia only produced $3 million worth of cocoa and coffee. I have a man in this country that came to buy 20 metric tons of cocoa a month. He cannot get that. Let's look at where they were in terms of rice production. 12 years, 12 years in power, and you cannot increase rice production to meet minimally half of the consumption. Let's use Uncle Joe Boca's own words. He was a parked car sitting in a garage. So Titi, you have a car. If you left that car parked in your garage for 12 years under Mount Ellen, now it's going to 18 years, our 6 years. And if you took your key and to put it in that car, it will go
So you think Joe Boca cannot rescue this country, right?
But he couldn't rescue NoCal. The cannibalization of NoCal, $50 million. He couldn't rescue it. 66 out of 68 concession agreements were deemed fraudulent. 1 out of 3 girls in Liberia were getting pregnant under their administration due to many reasons. 1 out of 3 girls 13 to 19 were getting pregnant. The maternal mortality rate, 1,072 women died under childbirth. He couldn't rescue those women. We rescued half of those women in the maternal mortality. We rescued them. We built 241 kilometers of neighborhood roads. We pay WASCCE fees, WASCCE fees. So much so now that the improvements in standardized achievements, test scores have gone up. You have more children in school today in primary, junior, and high school than ever before. The proportion of girls who are now graduating from high school, because girls get pregnant, under them, 60% of girls were graduating from high school, the ones that started primary. But now they're going up to like 89%, gender parity, right?
And so then now you say former Vice President Joseph Newman Boakai has no record. He has not done anything in his own sector, agriculture. Let's talk about Alexander Cummings. He's also coming to fix it.
Okay, so Mr. Cummings, again, I have a great deal of respect for him in terms of his achievements in corporate America. It's a very it's a big deal for a young black boy from Fiamma to go up the corporate ladder and become third in a consumer brand company. But that is a consumer brand company, which is a cookie cutter operation. Coca-Cola's formula has never changed for over 100 years. Never changed for 100. It's still basically sugar water, and it's still advertising, and it's still selling it. So he didn't
What does that
create
mean?
anything. He
Okay.
didn't create any jobs. He has not worked in the public sector in a low income country to do the kinds of compromises and wheeling and dealing that is required to grow and build in a low income country. And I don't think the skills in corporate America that he has is appropriate for the presidency for Liberia. He might be much more suitable to become somebody who working in trade and industry, somebody who helping us in terms of manufacturing, somebody who helping us in terms of building our financial architecture and those kinds of things. But for him to sit at the helm of power, and remember, he came out, he said he was Mr. Clean, right?
Mm.
This is Mr. Clean. So, because my friends and some of my relatives are engaged with him, they're working with him, and I know that they are contaminated, right?
Mm.
I'm not going to call their names, but he can no longer call himself Mr. Clean because he's built an alliance with people who have been responsible for the mismanagement and the kleptocracy that existed under the Ellen Johnson administration. So
Who are those?
you cannot say to us that you come in,
I'm
you
gonna call
Mr.
you.
Clean, yeah. And
Well,
then
why you don't
listen to
want to
me.
call names? Who are those?
Like,
Who are those? Is he
okay,
associated with
so
who are not
okay,
clean?
so
Mm.
let me explain some of you how I am and how I roll. Okay, Titi,
Mm.
I don't do personal attacks on people. I try because there's a day that will come after October 10th when we all have to live together as human beings in this country.
But if you want to convince me that I should vote for your candidate and you believe that Mr. Fixer has people, although he says he's clean, but he has people who are not clean, how am I going to know those unclean
Oh
people
no,
when you don't
oh
say their
Titi,
name?
the
Uh-huh.
electorate see them every day. They know who they
They
are,
know them,
and
eh?
you know who they are.
Okay, so
Oh,
that's
you
a
know
reason
them.
not
They
to
say,
vote
while
for
they have
coming.
fruits, while they have fruits, we
You shall
shall
know
know
them.
them, Titi.
And you think the
Yes,
Liberian
while they're
people
fruits,
should
we shall
not
know
vote for
them.
Cummings because one of the reasons is because he claims to be clean, but he is, rubbing shoulders with people who are very dirty.
Of course. I mean, that's just the way. Look,
Okay.
I,
And
I'm not. I don't put myself as a saint because I work for President Taylor, okay,
mm,
who is now sitting down in jail.
mm,
So I'm not going to come out here and say that I'm
you're
Mr.
clean.
Clean. I
Mhm.
have yes, and
So under
I'm
five
Christian
minutes,
too.
please tell me about the broom. What about the broom ticket?
So Talman is a very good friend of mine. I like this guy. He's a very good advocate. But where was that broom when he was Solicitor General?
What do you mean?
How? Well, so he was Solicitor General under
Mm.
the Unity Party government. He was responsible to prosecute criminals. How many corrupt cases did he successfully prosecute, bring to a conclusion, and got a jail sentence of anybody who was serving any sentence or anybody who made restitution based upon corruption? Zero. When he was Minister of Labor, how did he conduct himself as Minister of Labor in terms of enforcing regulations within the workforce that foreigners should not do jobs that Liberians should do? Did you see Mr. Gonglo find any business? Did you see him prosecute any business? Did you see him develop a scheme where Liberian professionals would come into the workforce and replace the Indians, the Bangladeshis, and others that are working as accountants, that are working as store boys and girls, that are working in all areas where they shouldn't be working? Did he do that?
But
So where was that from?
he didn't because he didn't do that, so he can sweep corruption out of the country, right?
Well, see, but where was that broom? Was that broom in the attic? Or what was
Yeah, I
that
think
broom
he
under the
just brought
bed?
it when he
Look,
decided to be
listen, let me tell
president.
you.
He just brought it out of
So,
the attic,
so listen,
right?
so listen
Mm,
to me. Listen to me, Titi.
mm.
I love Tiawan Gonglo. I think I'm a solid individual, but he's now become a politician. And politicians are typically people. They're show people. He's a showman. So the broom, because all he's doing now is an act. The broom is an act. It's part of the prop in a movie. That's all that is. Okay, that's and it's just a prop. It's just a
Okay.
prop.
Okay.
It is a movie. I'm enjoying the movie, and his post number exactly where it is because no one believes that old rusted, that old crepit rusted broom there will do anything to sweep up corruption. It's good to take pictures with the broom with his new standard bearer, Mr. Yapaglo. But where was that broom? Where was that broom?
Mr. Jackson,
The
I'm gonna
only,
hold you there and go to the
the
lines, please.
only the only person that Tiawan Gonglo successfully surrendered to prosecution was Charles Taylor when he read him his Miranda Act in 2006 or 2007. That's the only time. So the
Okay.
only time he surrendered. But what happened to the other people, corrupt individuals? In fact, look, let's look at the
No, Mr.
2010.
Jackson, I beg you.
Mr.
I'm
Jackson,
gonna
I
hold
think.
you there, and I'm gonna find another time because I have the list of all of those who, we got the list of all of those who are running to be president, and I'd like
We're
you
gonna
to
find time to
critique all
discuss.
of them one by one. Another time. Please let's hold it there. You've
No, but
done.
you see, Titi.
Uh-huh.
Don't come bring anybody name here who will get 1,000 votes or 800 votes. I beg you. You
But
and
if the
I
president,
know,
uh
okay. You and I
what
know who
what
they.
about Simeon Freeman?
Let me go say DSTV man. I'm ambassador brother. Then let you go do a DSTV team man. I beg him man.
Okay. Okay. Let me hold you there and go to the lines and hear from the people who are listening to you. Let's hear what they have to say, Mr. Jackson. Let's take our very first caller. Good evening.
How are you?
Good.
How are you, Johnson? Thank you for the splendid explanation. This is Edmond Carr. We don't have a say for the re-election president. We are calling from the room. You know, when the economy come on the air and it's in your side, and we who are now economy will come up to help man, water, and man, they will understand. You know, you're talking about harmonization. Harmonization, when I intended to pour money in president, we are talking in this position. Harmonization was able to allow the president to pull 2,000 health workers on payroll when he told us that it was not even 1 week when the NGO that were funding those people warned to him and said that they would no longer fund those people if you don't put them down or take them in. And the president said, I will try to put on payroll. Now they put it down on payroll, but he took that down from $700 and carried them to $2,000 instead of one person making 15,000, 30,000 US dollars.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and the same organization was also able to help pay one fee, were able to pay university or Nigeria to allow people to go there free, to go to school free.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I think you're just saying the same thing Mr. Jackson said.
Shaking your head, mom.
Hello? 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 Okay, that person is up the line. Let's take this one. Hello? Hello? Confused about what? Mhm. He said the harmonization was what? What do you call the common people's salary? So how did the government harmonize the common people's salary? How did the government harmonize the common people's salary? Is the question, sir.
How do the government have it?
Yeah, somebody who was making $100 and $200. How did the government harmonize their salary? Reducing it to what? Reducing it from 100 to what? Stop. No, 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 don't come on the air and just, spill the lights. Hello. Whose salary was reduced from 100 to 50? Why would you say that? Hello. Good evening, sir. Hello. Are you going off the line? Let's hear this person. Hello. The person is also off the line. Please stop holding the line. Hello. 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 Okay. Okay. Thank you. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
All right. I know my name is Jeff. I want to appoint for LP Kubaru.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for the discussion tonight. No, my sister, we are here for 2023 to come, and we are here always 2023 over October 10th. But those who have nothing to talk what they read you, I'm sorry, but let us sit down and listen to all people who listen. Let us Abu Menta, they are not doing anything, they just going to talking WhatsApp or see that people we're not going to say. So
Okay.
I think you people very much for your show. Thank you very much. We are listening, we'll listen to you.
Okay, sir. Thank you also for being a part of the program. Call us on 0880-514-096 and you'll be live on the program. Hello. Hello. Zero eight eight zero 514-096 is the number to call and you'll be live on Open Conversation on ELBC Radio. I think I'm having a little bit of problem with this line. 07, that's 0. Let me take this person. Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
You are live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm calling for you. Thank you.
Let's hear you from Granger there.
You know, this people, this year, I thought that when we government do guys, you know, they are leading the government. The government, they after that they government draw up. They tell the teacher fathers that they draw up. You know, they're doing that work. I mean, they can't answer for.
Okay, so.
Those are things that the government do. If you want to do that,
So what kind of suffering the government bring on you now? Hello? Hello? What kind of suffering the government bring on you? What kind of suffering the government bring on you? What? What kind of work you doing? What kind of work you doing? Hello? What kind of work you doing now? So if we're talking now, what kind of work you doing? I'm asking
So
you.
listen to her now.
Hmm? But why you not working? What kind of work you can do? What kind of work you can do? What? The thing is, that conversation was supposed to be having.
Yeah, let's have
You can't get
conversation.
there. Hello? Hello? Good. I'm good. And you? Let's hear you, sir. Let's hear you. You are live. Ask your question, sir. You asking question or you making comment? You say, what is the current vice president doing? He's going to answer your question, right? You ask a question. Okay, he will answer that question. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Jesse Tomo, whatever, Jesse, whatever, Junction.
Let's hear you.
Yeah. I don't want to get there. You call me. No, it's not like I'm suffering. You call me suffering. Oh.
How they government suffering you?
Now you see US rate. The rate almost 200. You understand? Same prices going up.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm not working.
Why you not working? Why you not working?
It's the government. Because now, I'm working.
That because of the government you're not working? How old are you? How old are you?
I'm in my 30s.
You're in your 30s. What do you know how to do?
I'm a trainer.
What kind of trade?
They train me, not working.
You learn POP design and you're not working? With all the construction that are going on in this country, you're not working? You really learn that POP work good?
Yeah, come in.
You really learn it good? Because a lot of people doing
The availability is-
POP work.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Maybe we'll take one more because we're almost running out of time.
Should take one more. We still got 5 minutes to go.
Because you know Samuel is a good talker.
Yeah, but he talks a lot anyway, so the people have to call. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Manuel, you got the journey from Bonafide.
Let's hear you.
I want to tell you, thank you. Okay. Yeah. That all, right now, Nigeria, we want tangible, we want big development. I think it will go around the South region. Ivory Coast, Guinea. We found a lot of better who are not doing anything. They just sitting down, you know. We have another situation right now. It's hard. Things are hard. Things will never be like before. People you got on your feet, go on the hustle. So Nigerian people right now, we want people that will do development. It's too much of blaming people, this person, or if your regime fail in the past, if you come right now, so even the law because if you not perform, you can be re-elected.
Okay. All right.
That will be re-elected.
Thank you. Hello. Just move away from your radio, please.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Good
You're live.
Evening.
Go ahead, sir.
What the federal court of Nigeria is the opposition is a frustrated with GM. You understand? We are the GM. We start to reach the next president where we after the those that calling tonight that say the government now working or the government is today is in error. Because of some as a picturized system, you need to portray the effort of the government, not only spending on government. What you learn, what you doing government every day and night, all the people you pay for government, for development, so that our people will be better to work or be compared to another country around Africa.
Okay.
Not to count the tax state government that is the response of Federal to develop our country.
Okay.
But we always go with the vote. Anyone go with the other.
Thank you so much. Let's take the very last caller. Hello. Let's hear you, sir.
It's really frustrating because you got Jackson and to declare people and then they are going to fake allegations. Everything you said is just the opposite.
Fake allegation against who?
I mean, the person, the description for you see from Jason Wambuanga was not right.
What
But
description? What
everything you
description?
said,
What
economic,
description? What description did he give, or did how did he describe former Vice President Walker that is not correct?
he said he considered to be, he considered himself word for word, then he to be agriculturist. Okay, right? And then he said
Is
he
he not a?
any,
Is he not an agriculturist?
yeah, because he said,
Is he
Is he
not
not an agriculturist?
agriculturist?
Is
Is
he
my
not?
question.
he said, Waka,
I'm
You're
asking
not
you,
answering the
who is
questions.
Waka?
Waka is an agriculturist.
Thank you so much for your time. Um, um, Mr. Jackson, you listen to the callers. It's your time now to, give us your parting comments. Talk about what you think about what they said, and then you conclude conclusively,
Be in a
please.
scope of 2 minutes. Mr. Jackson, you're
You're
muted,
muted,
sir.
Mr.
Can you unmute?
Sorry. Okay, so sorry. So my people, I want to thank all of you there, my Mary, my Water, Uncle Flomo there, outside there who've been listening to me. Some people who agree with me, some people who not agree with me, and that's the democracy that President Weah is promoting now for 5 years. No political prisoner, hundreds and hundreds of platforms, dozens of radio stations. You can call radio station, and you can call back and stay on Broad Street and cost the president and all of that. This is the democracy that we're supporting. So you don't have to agree with me, but nothing any one of you said there contradicted anything I say. Well, I mean, anything, wherever I told you there, nobody called the radio say I'm lying. Yes, they will say people suffering. Okay, so when was the time that nobody was suffering? I was born somewhere. I was born somewhere. My mom suffered, and so Pepper better boy and fufu in the market that she sent me to school and sent me to America. It was only when I went to America and came back and went to school that my life changed. So all the things that President we are doing now for my water children there. My water, a 50, 60-year-old, she's selling in the market. But can I show you that 16, 17-year-old son or daughter of my water who passed wire because of free wire and getting free education, free public tertiary education. They will live a better life than my water. And as President Weah continues to build roads and improve electricity, companies will come, factories will come, hotels will come, tourism will develop, and agriculture will develop. We provided agriculture grants to 60,000 farmers to improve food security. There are ongoing work on 200 kilometers of feeder roads to support agribusiness, right? Now, what was the bread and butter thing that we did for my water then? We stabilized and kept the price of rice at $13 for almost 4 years until the war in Ukraine came in. We couldn't do it again, right? So let's look at what they did with 12 to 14 billion dollars that the white men get in, what they call official development assistance, versus what we are using, UNSO's revenue. Ome na bro no more. Ome they used to fix the road on the southeast there. Gamba 1, Gamba 2, Najibi, back all that one, they were all over the place. All the Bangladeshi, they were all over the place, the hospital, and all the thing there. When Ome pulled out, everything went out. We have to rebuild from scratch. So our economic growth is much more sustainable because it is from the ground up, from us, like growth from our sweat. The money that we collecting, LRA, what we're pushing to almost 800 million, almost going to 1 billion. What come and say you will take the budget of 1 billion? We already finished doing it. So we need here again. Oma Poka, I love you. You're a good man, but you had your 12 years. I beg you, Papa. I'm sorry. Let your sport. Big ball one. Big Boy 2, Elenito, an unqualified company, you get in the Western cluster. Today, look what we have to do to accommodate it. We're trucking an iron ore by road. We got to put build infrastructure. Amen. Then you want to come back to power to do what? What is it that you couldn't do for 12 years that you want to do? Incomes? Your people in the diaspora there, they are elite. Look at them, they had a fundraising ceremony in Philadelphia the other day. And you saw them with their cake and their top hats and their champagne they were drinking. Why they couldn't do their fundraiser in Yucatan or Ganta or Plibo? So that either my water them, my Mary there, Uncle Flumbo there, I also know. Mama Samuel Jassy, who saw the sunny way. Yeah, the book we are not here, baby, poor day. No, what I jigger, Mamma, did no way. So I'm babbling, me, Joe. We are okay. Obviously, already, I book the boss war. She has put Bassa.
Okay. Thank
you so much. Thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate you guys. Short notice, but let's do it again one day soon, eh?
Obviously, Mr. Jackson. Thank you so much, renowned economist, and
you are
a renowned economist. Like if you don't like it, that's how we'll call you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'm just a basketball from Sunny Way. That's all I am.
But you are a renowned basketball from Sunny Way.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, I put the bus.
Mr. Jackson, thank you so much. Thank you.
So God bless you. Okay, bye-bye.
And you too. There's never a dull moment with economist Samuel Jackson. I think he has been able to explain why he believes that the Liberian people should re-elect President Weah. And I just wanted to say something to people who young people in this country. Somebody is in their 30s and they say, I'm a trade man, and you still do not, because you don't have a contracted day and you think that you're suffering. The government cannot employ everybody. Like somebody says, you have to wake up and go and hustle, because all around the world, economists are crumbling because of what's happening. There is hardship all over. Liberia's GDP is far better than Ghana, is far better than Sierra Leone that just elected Maravio for a second term. Ours is way, way down. So we should be appreciated and try to do something. Wake up in the morning, do something. Don't sit down.
To grab your attention. Now, you see, this aspect of dependency, I think this thing has been caused by a lot of politicians over the time past. So people will entirely depend on the government. They will entirely depend on these politicians, to just do almost everything for them. So it makes them very, very inefficient, ineffective.
No, the politicians just do things for you.
No, I'm coming.
When the elections are coming,
I'm coming. The politicians make the people understand, or they make them to understand that yes, indeed, we are the sole responsibility to ensure that we bring you laughter and good life, and that which
they're not going to do that.
They're not going to do it
because they want power. When they get into power,
they leave you all alone. Yeah, so that means you have to equip yourself.
Absolutely.
Prepare yourself. Titi, if you did not equip yourself, you would not have been here today. If you'd have been waiting on government to provide job for you, come on, Titi. If I would not have gone to school, I would not have been here today. I'll be some kind of little ball passing around doing something different. But see where we are. So I think that dependency syndrome, we have to, graduate from that, and we can just yes. It was
just political.
It was a spirited time with Sam Jackson. It's never a dull moment, like you said. It's never a dull moment. We want to extend our, sincere felicitation to him for honoring our short notice. Yeah. So that's how we go home.
We see you tomorrow, God willing. Have a pleasant evening.
And enjoy the start of your week. Bye-bye.
From the east to the west, north to the south, let's come together. I want. They say you not there, we stand, if I there, we fight. If we not celebrate, we do it for you. Voila, you forget it. You from Lower County, you from Maryland. Voila, you from Rewa I'm a bastard, we own your crib, I have up on the fine way. La villa, crib, I love Liberia, oh yeah, yeah. Free land, I live until Liberia, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I love Liberia, oh yeah, yeah. They play for me and you, Liberia, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
I was raised in the slum, but I chilled with my guns. Kept it on the low, but we fought for the bones. True son of the soil, I'm a prince in my own. Never gonna lie, me, I love that I be. Even though it's far, when we show we can face it. It's not a prophecy, I know that we can rise again. Holding my hand, I hold in your own, united we stand.